On Tuesday, the Democrats held their 7th presidential primary debate, and it was bad. Okay, but seriously, guys, it was really bad. Like terrible. Do I really need to talk about this anymore? Fine. I'll talk about it. I didn't like it at all, but I'll talk about it. Okay. Welcome to the Elected Show, Des Moines Debate Edition. I'm your host, Luke Radel. The debate was just a weird mess, from Tom Steyer mentioning everyone's names.
What Senator Sanders, Mayor Buttigieg, what Senator Warren and Senator Sanders said. Senator Warren is right.
Then drop out and endorse her, or just drop out. Yeah, that does sound like a good idea. Also, I love how CNN put President Steyer in that bottom graphic. Or when Amy Klobuchar said she knew the governor of Kansas and then forgot her name.
Kansas has a woman governor right now, and she beat Chris Kobach. And her name is, I'm very proud to know her, and her name is Governor Kelly. Thank you.
Or how the national frontrunner just kind of stood there and didn't talk very much throughout the debate, but we'll get back to that later. And with Andrew Yang and Tulsi Gabbard not meeting the qualifications for this debate, along with the dropping out of Cory Booker, Kamala Harris, and Julian Castro, Tuesday night's debate was the least diverse of this primary field, and it was also very, very boring. Look, I have a strong distaste for this most recent Democratic debate, and a lot of it is thanks to my favorite network, CNN. CNN held a debate on Tuesday with moderators Wolf Blitzer, Abby Phillip, and Brianna Pfannenstiel. Wow, that is a lot of letters. Wow, I can't even think of a name harder to pronounce. Oh yeah. CNN didn't even wait until debate night to start some serious nonsense, reporting this breaking news.
That's right. We have some new reporting on a private meeting that took place between Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren in December of 2018. You can do the math on the timing of all of this. This would have been when both senators were both preparing to launch their 2020 campaigns. And the two met in Warren's Washington, D.C. apartment. They discussed ways to beat Donald Trump, and that Warren told Bernie Sanders that two major reasons she thought that she would be a strong candidate was because she could mount a robust argument on the economy, and that she thought she could get broad support from female voters. Now, 4 sources tell CNN that Bernie Sanders responded to Elizabeth Warren by saying he does not believe that a woman can win. Now, we are also told that Sanders expressed some frustration about the role of identity politics for Democrats, and also that Elizabeth Warren disagreed with Sanders' assessment that a woman could not win.
Looking a little bit closer at this news story, it was based upon just 4 sources, 2 who spoke directly with Senator Warren after the meeting, and 2 individuals familiar with the meeting. Now, hopefully I don't need to elaborate on how having 4 sources close to the Elizabeth Warren campaign commenting on a story that paints Bernie Sanders in a negative light could lead to some bias and exaggeration, especially as Senator Sanders rises in the polls while Senator Warren takes a nosedive. And after the story came out, Bernie vehemently denied having made that remark. But then Senator Warren released her statement on the matter, writing in part, quote, "I thought a woman could win." He disagreed. So now it's a dispute between the 2 candidates as to what was actually said in the meeting. But what was actually said is still unclear, right? Well, not quite in the eyes of CNN's Abby Phillip, who asked this question of Bernie Sanders at the debate.
Let's now turn to an issue that's come up in the last 48 hours. Senator Sanders. CNN reported yesterday that, and Senator Warren confirmed in a statement, that in 2018, you told her that you did not believe that a woman could win the election. Why did you say that?
Well, as a matter of fact, I didn't say it.
I do want to be clear here. You're saying that you never told Senator Warren that a woman could not win the election.
That is correct.
Senator Warren, what did you think when Senator Sanders told you a woman could not win the election?
CNN acting like their report is a definitive version of the story when it's clearly a disagreement between the two candidates is just bad for journalism, for news, and for the Democrats in this primary. But Senator Warren had a very interesting answer to that question from Phillip.
This question about whether or not a woman can be president has been raised, and it's time for us to attack it head on. And I think the best way to talk about who can win is by looking at people's winning record. So, can a woman beat Donald Trump? Look at the men on this stage. Collectively, they have lost 10 elections. The only people on this stage who have won every single election that they've been in are the women, Amy and me. And the only person on this stage who has beaten an incumbent Republican any time in the past 30 years is me.
Wow, that's an insightful and interesting point. Electability is something that's very important to the Democratic primary voters. So now let's watch it get stupid.
Senator Sanders, you can respond.
Well, just to set the record straight, I defeated an incumbent Republican running for Congress.
When?
1990. That's how I won, beat a Republican congressman. Number two, of course, I don't think there's any debate up here.
What, wasn't it 30 years ago?
I beat an incumbent Republican congressman.
And I said I was the only one who's beaten an incumbent Republican in 30 years.
Well, 30 years ago was 1990, as a matter of fact. But I don't know that that's the major issue of the day.
I'm not ever coming back. Fine, I'll come back. But seriously, guys, where is Andrew Yang when you need him? Isn't math like his whole thing? Unfortunately for me, the Bernie Warren feud didn't end there, and I'll let CNN's Anderson Cooper explain.
Tonight, is CNN exclusive on probably the most talked about moment of last night's Democratic debate, which actually happened just seconds after the debate.
By the way, you know what's a bad sign for your debate? When the most talked about moment was not a part of the debate. CNN's Jeff Zeleny picks up the story from there.
With applause still ringing at the end of the Democratic debate in Iowa last night, the simmering feud between Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders suddenly boiled over.
I think you called me a liar on national TV.
What?
I think you called me a liar on national TV.
Let's not do it right now. You want to have that discussion, we'll have that discussion. You called me, you told me. All right, let's not do it now.
I don't want to get in the middle of it. I just want to say hi, Bernie.
Yeah, good. Okay.
So now let's really look critically at what happened on Tuesday night with this headlining moment between Senator Sanders and Senator Warren, because it only shows more of the flaws in our current media landscape, where CNN tried to get a ratings bump, and it worked, by creating drama between the candidates and manipulating their own article to make it seem as though that was the only true version of events, when in reality it's a dispute over what was said in a private meeting between two candidates. The only real source that CNN has in the story is Elizabeth Warren. All the other sources stem back to her, unless Bernie Sanders is going around talking about how he told Elizabeth Warren that a woman couldn't be president, which is something that wouldn't be in his best interest. I also want to touch on where Senator Warren comes in with all of this. This all felt like a planned-out strategy. The fact that it was released on CNN just a few hours before the Democratic debate, and that they were caught on a hot mic, and they had no idea that a camera was swirling around right in front of them as Elizabeth Warren made this dramatic confrontation of Bernie, which was not planned at all. So look, we all knew that this day was going to come. The pact had to break between the two of them, and it was going to be broken by one of them, presumably the one who was down in the polls. And that was Elizabeth Warren. She has been on a nosedive ever since she surpassed Joe Biden briefly in the national polls back in September. She has been falling fast and falling hard with Bernie Sanders on the rise. So we knew this attack on Bernie was coming, and we knew it couldn't really be on policy because, well, they tend to agree on almost everything. So it looks like, for now, the pact has been broken between the progressive candidates. But what is most interesting to me about the headlining event at the 7th Democratic debate is not the implications it has on the Bernie and Warren friendship or its implications on CNN's ratings. No, it's its implications on who actually got to talk. The national frontrunner spoke the second least out of any of the other candidates, mercifully speaking more than Tom Steyer. With Biden remaining steady atop the national polls while his two biggest rivals split hairs about whether or not November 1990 was actually 30 years ago, it's not, by the way, Elizabeth Warren's strategy for getting back on top may have backfired. Oh yeah, and Pete Buttigieg was there. He's probably going to win Iowa, by the way.